I'm Tim Barkley with Charleston Home and Design Magazine, and we're with Allison Williams with Coastal Elevators and Lifts. How are you doing, Allison?
Fine, Tim. Thank you.
You've taken us today to a beautiful downtown home here in downtown Charleston, historic Charleston, and today we're going to be talking about an elevator that Coastal Elevators and Lifts installed, and this is a retrofit. Is that right?
That's correct. They took the secondary stairs out to the guest suite and installed the elevator so the guests coming in would be able to get up to the bedrooms and to take their luggage up and such. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, before we get into talking about this particular project, why don't we start by having you kind of give some background information about Coastal Elevators and Lifts.
Okay. We are locally owned and operated. We are on Johns Island. We've been in business for over 25 years, and we currently install, service, and repair Wapaka elevators, inclinator elevators. We do Handicare, formerly known as Sterling stair lifts, and we also do Severia, previously Concord, vertical lifts. We also can service and repair a number of other manufacturers' products as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So just to kind of summarize, besides elevators, which everyone is familiar with, and it's just residential elevators, you don't do commercial work, is that right?
We do commercial dumbwaiters or stair lifts or porch lifts, but the elevators, we do not do commercial elevators.
I see. Okay. So besides elevators, what are some of the other lift equipment? And you just mentioned a couple of them, but just kind of reiterate for our listeners, viewers, and readers, what other types of lift equipment does that Coastal Elevators and Lifts provides?
We can do dumbwaiters from 50 pounds up to 500 pounds. Again, the larger ones, of course, would be in commercial applications. We do stair lifts, which can go on a straight set of stairs. It can be curved. It could even be a sort of a spiral type. And we also do platform lifts, which would be, or a porch lift, to get wheelchairs up to the porch area.
Without having those long wheelchair ramps out in front of your house.
Correct. That eliminates the need for the ramp. And those are primarily for wheelchair applications, so they don't have the cost of doing the shaft. And a lot of times it's a little quicker to get that installed.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's talk about the elevator here in this beautiful home. This was a retrofit, and are you seeing a lot of people retrofitting elevators into their existing homes these days?
Well, you do see a lot more of that, especially with the sales the way they are with homes. It's harder for people to sell their homes, so sometimes they'll get the elevator to make it more enticing to sell the home, or it's just cheaper for them to stay in their home. When you figure in the cost of the shaft plus the elevator, a lot of times that'll be less expensive than paying a realtor and a mover, and they get to stay in the home that they already love.
So, so folks might be thinking about an elevator if they have an immediate need, some sort of a medical problem, and they realize they want to stay in their house. They might need to get an elevator retrofitted into their home, and then some people are just kind of thinking ahead and saying to themselves, "Hey, we might as well have this elevator in the event down the road we have a need for it, so you don't have to worry about having to move and that kind of thing."
Yeah, that's correct. We have people that call and say, hey, my father, my mother, whatever, can't come home from therapy until we have a way to get them in the home. And as we all know, the houses in the Charleston area, the majority of them are elevated. So if you don't have a way to get that loved one in the house, then they have to stay in rehab, which is really a shame. That's why the chairlifts are sometimes a nice alternative, because that is something that can make that happen a lot quicker than an elevator. But of course, the elevator is what will contribute to the value of the home. The chairlifts don't give any added value to the home. It does get the person in, but the elevator is going to have a long-term value added to that house. So if they go to sell the house later, you have two similar homes in a neighborhood. One has an elevator and one doesn't. The one that has the elevator is going to sell first.
Right. What in this particular home, where did you folks find the room for the elevator shaft? Because if you want to retrofit an elevator into a home, you need to create an elevator shaft, right?
Yes, a lot of the newer homes say that's been built in maybe the last 15 years or so, they will either have a secondary set of stairs, or a lot of times they'll line up closets so that the floors can be taken out of the closets, and then you have the shaft. In this particular home, it was a very small secondary stairs to the guest suite, and the stairs were taken out and the elevator was installed because it was planned to have that for the future elevator.
Gotcha. Okay. So once you is that one of the first things that you do then when you're retrofitting an elevator, is to identify where you might be able to place the elevator shaft?
That's correct, because not all homes, like I said, the ones in the last 15, maybe 10 years, a lot of the architects and builders are providing a future space, even if they don't have the elevator. But there are a lot of homes that either are older than that or they've not allotted that space. So sometimes we have to go in and try to find maybe an exterior wall that can be accomplished, or it might just have to come up into a room and then they lose a little bit of room in that space in that room. But it just depends on what room is above the room that you want to put the elevator in. So sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging, but most of the time you can find somewhere in a home to fit an elevator.
Have you ever had an instance where you were not able to help a homeowner who wanted to retrofit an elevator into an existing home?
We had one recently because there was just the planning of it. There were offset floor plan. So they would have had to actually have more than one elevator, because if you rode the elevator from floor 1 to floor 2, then you had something that was at, like, say, floor 1.5, but it was on the other side of the house. So it would have really taken more than one elevator. We could have done it, but it would have taken more than one elevator to do it.
Right. But in most cases, you are able to help retrofit an existing home.
Yes, in most cases. Okay. Yes.
All right. Let's talk about the elevator itself, because an elevator sounds like a very utilitarian object. It's something that serves a purpose, like a staircase or something like that. But people have really gone to great ends to decorate their elevators, the cabs, and to make sure that that the design in the elevator cab itself flows with the rest of the decor in the house, right?
That's correct. Probably over 90% of the elevators we sell, the people get the least expensive elevator with the finish being just unfinished wood. And then they just fix it up all different ways. We've got people that all they do is stain it, some paint it, some will do trim and paint, mirrors, beadboard, and just a lot of different people have done murals in the elevators. So that's the beauty of the unfinished car, is that people can do as much or as little as they want, and they can make it look like the elevator has been there all along. Even if it's a retrofit home, they can still make it look like it was part of the house, and they can continue the flooring from the main part of the house into the elevator as well, just to make it look like it's always been there.
Gotcha. So Coastal Elevators and Lifts happily sells the unfinished cabs, which is a nice, inexpensive alternative to having the cabs finished, I guess, in a factory setting. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. I encourage them to get it the unfinished so that they can make it look like it was part of the home. But we do have several different finishes, different wood species to choose from, finished and unfinished. So we can do as little or as much to your elevator as you like. So if we have something that's pre-finished that complements your home, then we can certainly do that as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, just looking around this beautiful home south of Broad, we're in the I guess you might call it the parlor. Just as you walk in the front door, and looks like we've got about 15-foot ceilings here. We've got this beautiful mural on the ceiling, and some beautiful artwork. Not just in this room, but throughout the house. It's the homeowner definitely has customized the home, given it a very artsy look. It very playful and whimsical also, and I guess you might say eclectic look. And so they wanted to customize their elevator cab to kind of match their taste in the rest of the house here. How did they go about doing that? Well,
again, we got the unfinished car. One of the things that we did special for this customer that we don't always do, but we can certainly do it, is we got the gate sent ahead as well. So she was actually had the gate before she had the elevator, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get that on your video or not, but they painted and put mirrors on the inside of the gate to go with their theme. Normally there's a wall hung phone, and she's got a little table in there for a desk phone. So really we gave her the blank slate to work with to create what she's created, and it's just wow.
Yeah, and taking that whimsical theme that she has throughout the rest of her home, she created kind of an Alice in Wonderland theme in the elevator cab itself, and we're going to take a look at that now, and let our viewers and readers and listeners take a look at how she was able to accomplish that. We'll talk to the homeowner here in just a couple of minutes. But this was back to kind of the nuts and bolts of this particular elevator. This was there are two different types of elevators. Is that right?
Well, there are several different. The ones that we work with are the cable, the winding drum cable, and the hydraulic. The winding drum cable starts at 500 pounds and can go up to 1,000 pounds, and the hydraulic starts at 750 and they can go up to 1,000 pounds as well. And you get a variable speed, 30 to 40 feet per minute. The size of the car will be based on the size of your shaft and the type of mechanics you get, which are all dictated by code. So, we can do just about any type you want in there. A lot of times your shaft will dictate which mechanism works best because they take up different spaces in the shaft.
Are there any advantages or disadvantages to a cable elevator versus a hydraulic elevator?
I really think that it comes down to the size of your shaft, because again, with the 500-pound cable, the rail system can be as small as 4.5 inches, and that's space that's taken up in the shaft by this rail, whereas the hydraulic can go up to 9 3/4, and 5 inches can make a big difference if your space is small. And my primary goal is to try the best that I can to get a wheelchair accessible elevator. That's not always possible. Unfortunately, in this particular case, her existing stairway didn't allow for wheelchair accessible, but that wasn't a primary concern for her. It still was there to be able to get her elderly parents up and to get their luggage up and everything. But my primary goal to start with is if we can, to get it wheelchair accessible, and sometimes that will dictate the type of elevator that you use.
Now you've probably seen a lot of different looks for elevator cabs in your many years in the elevator business. Is there any other cabs that kind of come close to the thematic nature of this particular elevator cab?
I wouldn't say come close. I know another one that did have a mural that one of our guys was out there and he saw the dock going out to the marsh with this dog going along, and he felt something wet by his leg, and he looked down and it was the dog's nose. It was the same dog that was in the picture in the mural. So these people obviously had hired someone to duplicate their pet with their dog that went down to the marsh behind their house, which I thought was kind of a unique thing to do. But some people, they'll say that they're going to get glass doors for the elevator, and they're actually going to paint the shaft. So people do all different kinds of things.
Right. So maybe they're a little bit claustrophobic or something in a small space. So the glass walls helps make them feel a little more comfortable going up an elevator. Right.
It doesn't close them in. We've got people that we can actually do a glass wall, of windows. We recently did one with a window and a skylight. And then if it's an exterior shaft, they can have windows in the house wall that match at the stop at each floor. So it's not like they're completely closed in. So yeah, there are people that are claustrophobic that are going to have to use the elevator, and that's really hard for them.
Okay, now we're talking with the homeowner, Melinda. Thank you so much for allowing us into your home today, Melinda.
Well, thank you. It's good to have you here.
And we're in kind of close quarters where you are inside this amazing elevator cab that you customized for your own home. Let's start by just having you tell us why you chose this particular theme, and what is the theme?
Well, it's almost like a Mackenzie Childs theme, and I bet a lot of people that read the magazine know what Mackenzie Childs is, but it kind of picks up some of the Mackenzie Childs that is in my dining room and in this butler's pantry, and this is right across from the butler's pantry. I didn't want to be inconsistent with that, so I just figured I'd pick up the same kind of theme, and I think I did. I think I did.
Yeah, and so it all started with an unfinished cab, and the first thing that you did was put wallpaper up, and that became your blank canvas to work on. Is that right?
That's right. What I didn't want to do was spend a lot of money on a fancy wood cab, only to do something that's no one could see the wood from behind. So I bought a plain cab that was unfinished wood, and we wallpapered, making that the background of this elevator, and then from there added on various elements that were faux finished or painted, and picking up, as I said, some of the themes of Mackenzie Childs. And I think it was an interesting, it wasn't all that long of a process, believe it or not, because a lot of the things that I did and that the artist did, and we did together, were done off-site. And so we didn't have to sit there and, paint being in a real confined space, which was nice, because otherwise I would have probably gone nuts. Or if I wasn't claustrophobic, I'd become claustrophobic. But at any rate, it was fairly easy to do, and not as expensive as maybe most people would have thought.
Right, yeah, I see very intricate moldings here, and it kind of looks like perhaps the same kind of moldings that you would see in, like if you were to frame a painting or something, right?
That's right. It's almost that kind of wainscot type of molding that you can buy. In this case, we used wood, but they can come in all kinds of materials, even bendable materials. So. But we chose wood just because it was easier for us to work with.
And everything looks very much to scales, and being in kind of a small area like an elevator cab, it looks like that was a goal, was to try to find the materials that match the scale of the cab.
Yes, that was very important, because you were so confined and there was no room for error in terms of to scale. So it was very precise the way we did it, and I think it turned out exactly the way I had hoped it would.
Well, could you kind of paint a picture for our listeners, viewers, and readers, and just kind of tell us about some of the unique design details in the cab from the floor to ceiling?
Okay. Well, the floor is a marble floor. That's checkerboard, kind of picking up the whole Mackenzie Childs checkerboard theme. Some of the elements of the walls, again, pick up that checkerboard theme. These were elements that I bought. They're architectural elements that you can buy from almost any website nowadays. And we bought those, and I painted them. Same thing with these little angels and little blocks that were available. So, and the old phone I bought off of eBay, and the artist did Gretchen did some of the painting of these panels, these two, and this is a Mackenzie Childs sconce, which again, the black and white checkerboard theme. But all of this, and we put little roses. I think she got those from Michael's or some craft store. Mm-hmm. Same thing with little mirrors that you see on the ceiling and some on the walls. All of these things are readily available. Mm-hmm. And it just takes a little bit of imagination. But more than that, it takes not being scared to do it. If you make a mistake, gosh knows I've made a million mistakes, paint over it. It's not that big of a deal. And so, but fortunately, I've kind of done this before, not with an elevator, but elsewhere in the house. So I kind of knew what process I needed to go through. And, the more I do of this, the fewer mistakes, hopefully, I will make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not just the elevator, but your entire house is about as far away from neutral as you can get. You definitely are making a statement in your home, and especially here in the elevator cab itself.
Well, I'm not afraid of colors. There's no question about that. I'm not afraid of colors. And when I first bought this house, the colors theme was brown. And that was not me, and I didn't mind painting over it. And if I made a mistake, I can paint it over again. It's not that big of a deal. So if you get a kind of a wild hair and you decide, by golly, I'm going to change my life up and add a little bit of splash of color here and there, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You can always paint over it. And that's one of the things that most people, that's what stops them.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for giving us a tour of this amazing elevator.
Well, thank you for coming. I'm always proud to show it.
You mentioned that that this is one of the things. Your house is open for various house tours, and you mentioned house tours through the Gibbs, and the elevator is always something that people want to take a look at, right?
All of my guests always go up and down, up and down. They love this elevator, and it's so funny because I end up spending half my night, when I have 300 people in this house, taking people up and down, and but it's a big hit with every party. It's a big hit.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Melinda.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Allison, tell all of our listeners, viewers, and readers how they can get in touch with Coastal Elevators and Lifts.
Well, the main phone number is 843-557-0106. You can also find us online at coastalelevators.com, or you can just come by the office. We're at 3515 Meeks Farm Road on Johns Island, and we're there Monday through Friday from 8 until 4.
And in your showroom, you have a working elevator, so people who visit your showroom can not just look at pictures of elevators, but actually ride them and see the scale of what an elevator will look like in their own home.
That's correct. We actually have 2 elevators. We have the cable as well as the hydraulic, so you can see the differences with the mechanics, feel the ride, see if there's any difference. And we have different finishes that you can look at, so we give you the whole tour.
Great. Well, give your physical address one more time and your website address again.
3515 Meeks Farm Road, Johns Island, and the email address is coastalelevators@aol.com, and the website is coastalelevators.com.
Okay, we've been talking with Allison Williams with Coastal Elevators and Lifts at a beautiful downtown home, where she's just given us a great tour of an elevator that has been retrofitted into this South of Broad home. Thanks so much, Allison.
Thank you.